In today's video, I am going to tell you what the two most important words in the golf swing are. And I find that so often people don't realize how important they are. In fact, sometimes aren't even aware that they exist. So you have to do these two words if you want to be the best golfer you potentially can be. So when I start my golf lessons, I always ask the person in front of me, okay, sir, madam, what is it that you would consider being the fundamentals, the key points of a golf swing? And I twist it around a little bit and I say, if you were to teach one of your friends who was coming to the driving range for the first time ever, what would you tell them to enable them to play their best golf? And invariably the answers involve how you grip the club, how you stand to the club. I often hear the fact that the head should stay down and looking at the ground. I really often hear as well that the hips should turn as much as possible through the golf shot. Those are the standard answers. In reality, none of those matter as much as these two words. And there is definitely a reluctance in golfing circles to even utter these two words, but you have to know quite how important they are. And those two words are weight forwards. You have to do that if you want to be a golfer of any skill whatsoever. So why is weight forwards so important? Well, think of it. When you're starting to learn to play the game, what's really difficult? It's making good contact with the ball. When you see a beginner play or a high handicapper play, so often they hit fat shots, they hit thin shots, a whole variety of different contacts. If you look at the better players, even those playing for a lot of money, top of their games, they're not standing on the final fairway, the last hole of a big tournament thinking, oh, I'm a little bit afraid I might chunk this. They know they're going to hit a good shot in terms of contact. What they might not quite control is exactly how far the ball goes and exactly where it finishes left to right. But they are not worrying about the contact, about the strike. So as you're starting to learn to play the game, you have to be able to make good strikes with the ball. Because the ball, for the enormous majority of the time, just lies on the ground, it's not on a tee, it means the only way to hit a good shot, to make good contact, is to hit ball first, then the ground. Which is why you see when people play golf, good players play golf, you always see a divot occur after the golf ball. The divot isn't before the golf ball, it's a divot after the golf ball, which indicates the club head is traveling downwards through the strike, with the low point of the swing being situated on the target side of the golf ball. So that's really important. And guess what? How do you do that? You do that by having primarily your weight forwards. So I have a line on the ground here, illustrated by this stick, and I'm going to set it equidistant between both feet, and I'm going to imagine there's a golf ball on this stick. I make my backswing, I make my downswing. My task is to be able to hit the ground on this side of the stick, on the target side of the stick. Now you can well imagine if I make a backswing and I shift my weight to my trail side, to my trail foot like this, there's a very good chance I'm going to hit the ground before the ball. If, on the other hand, I have my weight forwards, there's a much better chance that I'm going to hit in front of that stick. So I'm going to be able to have a nice descending strike with my low point in front of the golf ball. So having the weight forwards is what's enabled me to do that. Weight forwards is so important, primarily because of that reason. It makes good contact possible. And if you don't make good contact, playing on the golf course is not the most fun experience you'll ever encounter, especially when there's a lake to go over or some gorse bushes to go over, whatever the case may be. Hitting the ball solidly gives you such a great feeling, but that is what you want to try and replicate over and over. That's what keeps us coming back. It's that sound, it's that feeling when we strike the ball really solidly. So that's for weight forwards. That's what it primarily does, but that's not all. The more my weight's forwards, the more I can straighten out my golf shots. If you're a golfer who slices the ball, if I swivel around this way, so you view me from down the line, the more your weight's forwards, the more you're going to swing from in to out, the more conducive that is to hitting a draw shot. The more your weight's back, the more you're going to swing from out to in, and that's conducive to the slice shots. So it's also going to help you in terms of the trajectory of your shots. Furthermore, I think one of the reasons people are always reluctant to discuss weight forwards is that there is this idea, this notion that if you have your weight back, you can then make a big shift forwards, and that shift from the trail side to the lead side is what creates power. In reality, there are lots of power sources. I would say during the backswing, we are trying to load a catapult. And I'd like you to try this with me as we're watching this video. If you have all your weight set on your trail side and you try and make a backswing from this position, you'll notice it's very hard for you to turn your hips, and therefore it's very hard to make a full backswing, a full shoulder turn. If this time you try and do the same thing with all your weight on the lead side, you'll be able to turn around that point much more easily and create much more depth, much more range of motions for a much fuller backswing. So in fact, because you've loaded the catapult more, you've got more potential for speed. So it also helps us with speed. So that's three important things it's going to help us control. It's going to help us control the strike, it's going to help us increase distance, and it's going to help us reduce some of that slice that we have. So those are your three main points in playing better golf. Those two words, if I say them again, are weight forwards. Do not be afraid of them. They are the most important thing you can do. So if you weren't thinking about these beforehand, then please now be sure that you are going to try and incorporate them into your game. If we look in just a little bit more detail, I would give you these two options for it. One, if you set up, you could set up with your weight 55, 45 on the lead side, simply by bumping your hips an inch forwards, like so, keeping your head nicely in the middle of your heels. From that 55, 45 position, you go to the top of the backswing, the hips go another inch forwards towards the target, so you're now 60-40, then 70-30, 80-20, 90-10, 95-5. And you're doing this incrementally throughout the time and space of the swing. That's option one. Option two is that you set up with all your weight on the lead side, so you're 80, 90% on the lead side, 10, 20 on the trail side, and you just keep it around that point continuously throughout the swing. Those are the two options that I would play and experiment with and see which works best for you. But the bottom line is weight forwards. And if you can do that every time, I guarantee you, you are going to play your best golf. Thanks very much for watching the video. I hope you've enjoyed the content. If so, please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions, please post them below, and I look forward to seeing you soon.